Peace and happiness for everyone. Horeini Adonai darkecha, teach me Hashem your ways. Parashat Va'era Tafshin Pei Gimel. Parashat Va'era opens with a promise from Hashem to Moshe, to the people, to Bnei Yisrael, that Hashem will keep His promise to our forefathers. He will take us out of Mitzrayim. He will take us to be His people with a special covenant between Am Yisrael and Hashem, and He will bring us to the land of Israel, to Eretz Yisrael. Moshe brings the words of Hashem, Hashem's promise to Bnei Yisrael, and how do they react? Velo sham'u el Moshe, they couldn't listen to Moshe. Mikotze ruach u'me'avoda kasha, because of a lack of spirit and the hard labor, the enslavement in Mitzrayim. Is this criticism of Bnei Yisrael? Couldn't you uplift yourselves and listen to Hashem's promise? Or is this an expression of being understanding of Bnei Yisrael? Under such hard labor, it's understandable that they couldn't listen, they couldn't pay attention to the promise that Moshe brings from Hashem. This question is not only about Bnei Yisrael and Mitzrayim, it's about each and every one of us. When we face difficulties, and sometimes we try to be above those difficulties and look at the situation from a perspective of faith and hope and be above the difficulties, and it's difficult for us to reach that level. Is that something wrong with us? We should be critical of ourselves, or should we be understanding and non-judgmental of others and even of ourselves? Amongst the commentators, the Mefarshim of the Torah, there are different attitudes towards this question here in Parashat Va'era. In a short video like this, we can't get into the details, but there are different Perushim, different attitudes to this question. Among other things, amongst other questions, what is the role of the leader? Is the role of the leader, when the people find it difficult to connect to that hope, to that promise, to listen to the promise, is the role of the leader to say, folks, we have to elevate ourselves, to bring that spirit into them? Or is the role of the leader to understand them, to set smaller goals that they can achieve? What's the role of the leader? That's one way of looking at this question. Is there an objective criteria as to how much we should be capable of uplifting ourselves, and when it's wrong that we don't, or when we should be understanding of the fact that we can't bring ourselves up to that level of looking at everything, at difficulties from a higher perspective? It doesn't seem that we will find an objective criteria. What we can say is, Eilu va'eilu divrei Elohim chayim. There are two sides to this coin. On the one hand, if we are capable of bringing ourselves up to such a level of faith and hope, that's great. We should try to do that. On the other hand, when the situation is difficult and we are not capable of achieving that, we have to be understanding and non-judgmental. It seems that it's a very broad spectrum of situations where sometimes it's extremely difficult, and of course we can be understanding of the fact that ourselves or others can't overcome the difficulties and look at it from a perspective of faith. And there are other situations where the difficulty is not as great, and we really should try to elevate ourselves up to such a level. When it's myself, when it's about myself, I should try to bring myself up to that level. When it's a different person, it's not my role to tell him how lofty he should be. It's my role to offer him a hand and help him out. And two very unique examples from the time of the Shoah. One is the Rabbi Piaseczna, Rabbi Kloni Muskalman Shapira from Piaseczna, who was in the Warsaw Ghetto. And during the years Tafshin to Tafshin Bet, 1940 to 1942, in the Warsaw Ghetto, he continued to give drashot, strengthening the faith of the people, and he wanted them to have strength and overcome the horrible surroundings that they were in. In Tafshin Gimel, 1943, he himself writes, it's something that we have never experienced before. This situation has become so horrible that even I no longer have koach to deal with this. And he was alive during Tafshin Gimel. He was murdered in the beginning of Tafshin Dal at the end of 1943. And we don't have drashot from him during that year. What a painful example. The other example is the Rebbe, Harabi Mitzanz Kloisenburg, Rabbi Kutiel Yehuda Halberstam, who lost his whole family in Auschwitz. He survived and got married again, had children again, created a new family. And then Parashat Beshalach, the Torah says, after all the miracles of Kriyat Yamsuf and the man and other things, Bnei Yisrael say, Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu imayin. Is Hashem amongst us or not? And how can they ask that after all those miracles? Chazal bring a midrash, a story about a father who's carrying his son on his shoulders, saves him from all kinds of perils, and then the son sees someone walking along. He says, have you seen my father? What do you mean, have you seen your father? I've been carrying you and protecting you the whole time. Says the Rebbe, but after the Shoah, we can understand that Jews are saying, Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu imayin. It's understandable, we can be more forgiving of it. And if we look at our generation, still generations, 2 or 3 generations after the Shoah, it's still understandable that after the Shoah, there is a difficulty. Some people have a difficulty with faith, with emunah, and we have to be more soft. We have to have a softer attitude towards this. That doesn't mean we have to accept lack of emunah. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't strive for ourselves and for others to elevate everyone to a level of faith in spite of the Shoah. But maybe after the Shoah, we should be softer and not judgmental of other people in this way, and of ourselves when we have questions and difficulties. On the one hand, be softer and accepting. On the other hand, always try as much as we can to uplift ourselves to a high level of faith and emunah in all circumstances, and look for the balance between these two in different situations. Shabbat Shalom.